My community challenged me to make a build using the Common Calamity body armor, and I let them pick the Ascendancy. Check out what we've built. What's going on, guys? Today, I have my first community challenge build. I asked my Discord community to pick the next build and the Ascendancy, and the winner was Triple Herald Blood Mage using the Common Calamity body armor. If you want to vote on the next build I do, click the link in the description to join the community. Now, as a disclaimer, this isn't new player friendly, it isn't budget, and it isn't a meta build like Rake Blood Mage or Deadeye Lightning Spear. This is a community build challenge, so this is a challenging build with complicated mechanics, so make sure you're watching all the explanations and the demos to understand how and why we do the things that we do. Now, the goal of the build was to use Elemental Sundering for bossing and Glacial Lance for mapping. Now, why Elemental Sundering? I've had many of my viewers on Twitch suggest I try out 4-Finger 404 Sundering build, so I decided to take his concept of the skill on Invoker and transfer it to Blood Mage. Its ability to one-shot bosses and deal massive burst damage enabled us to do bosses easily, so we just had to find a good skill to mix in with Triple Heralds. We decided that would be Glacial Lance. Now, you absolutely can use Lightning Spear if you want, but this was the challenge presented. Glacial Lance will create these large frost explosions when used with Frenzy charges, which will be generating with Combat Frenzy. This, with all 3 Heralds and Voltaic Mark, create very satisfying explosions that make mapping very easy and fun. Now, how does Elemental Sundering deal so much damage? Elemental Sundering will detonate any elemental ailments on a target to deal massive damage. This will be Ignite and Shock in our case. We'll use a companion with all damage shocks and the overcharged support gem to cause our Quadrilla to shock himself. Elemental Sundering will detonate any ailments on enemies and allies, so our Quadrilla is turned into a mini nuke. We'll combine the 3 explosions with Deepest Tower for low life damage boost, and the Common Calamity will ignore enemy elemental resistances when they're in our presence. Once you mix in the double Infernal Cry tech we've been using for the past couple builds, this will result in tens of millions of damage per explosion. Now, the biggest weakness of using Deepest Tower is that it lacks defense and enemies have to be close to you to get the most out of the helmet. So I've mitigated this weakness by incorporating a weapon set swap and a helmet swap. You'll just have to put on Deepest Tower before a boss and swap the weapon set too, and you're good to go. This allows us to have nodes focused around mapping and nodes focused around bossing and doesn't require any skill gem or support gem swaps before the boss. I've included a written guide link in the description, so be sure to check that out. And with the basics of the build out of the way, let's get into the skill gems. Alright, here we are on the Blood Mage, and I'm going to break down the skill gems and support gems, and please pay attention to all of these and why I'm picking them, because there are a lot of reasons behind what we're picking. So the whole gimmick with the Common Calamity is it is going to grant you 3 Heralds, but it's also going to make enemies in your presence have no elemental resistances. Now, the gimmick is anything away from you isn't going to have those lowered resistances. So on the Heralds, we're going to run things like Lightning Exposure and Cold Exposure to lower those resistances. So on Herald of Ice, I have Innervate for extra lightning damage, Cold Pin to pin some cold res, Inevitable Crit to help it crit more often, and Cold Exposure to lower targets cold res that are away from us in the distance whenever it critically hits. Herald Thunder, Lightning Pin to help pin some lightning res, Lightning Mastery for an extra level, Long Shot as this will be going off in the distance away from us, and Deadly Herald to increase the damage it's doing. Malice is granted by our Scepter. I don't put anything in here. Ignore all of these. And now we're on the Life Remnants. Life Remnants is granted thanks to our Blood Mage Ascendancy with Sanguinacy. We are going to run Dissipate to get increased effect from picking up the Remnants. This is more max life for us. Magnetism to help us grab them from a further distance. And Cannibalism to get 2% life on kill. This is important since we are a Blood Mage and we do have a life cost equal to mana cost. Glacial Lance, this is our main mapping skill. You can use Lightning Spear if you want to. You can use the exact same support gems. I would just change out Ice Bite for Electrocute. Now we're going to rock Martial Tempo for the attack speed. Perpetual Charge gives us a chance to not consume charges. This is because we want Glacial Lamp to be amped by our Frenzy charges more often. Ice Bite to get 30% damage as cold whenever we freeze stuff, which will be very often with this. Vault, as whenever we move, we will get extra damage. And Ambush to help cap out our critical hit chance at a guaranteed crit on full life targets. We want that twice critical hit to get the most damage as possible. Elemental Sundering, this is our boss killer right here. This is what we're using to pop those Pinnacle bosses and everything like that. It is crucial that you get your critical hit at 100% for the crit chance and the twice critically hit. This is what we need to be at 100%, as this will double our crit damage bonus to 1600%. We absolutely need this to happen. On Sundering, we're going to use Concentrated Effect for more area damage. Focus, because this doesn't inflict any ailments, so we're going to use Elemental Focus for more damage. Primal Armament for more damage. You can either use Overextend or Ambrosia. I've tested both. Both are about the same. Ambrosia may have a little bit more, but it is also going to consume some of your Mana Flash charges. This is going to give you more critical damage bonus on Overextend. And then Execute, as we're using Deepest Tower, and this is 50% more damage, so this is an absolute must-have. Stormlance, this is what we are using to proc, shock, and ignite on the boss. You'll throw these down on the ground and they will shock and they will ignite. Rock Fire Infusion to help you do fire damage to ignite. Ignition to give you an increased chance to ignite. Conduction for increased chance to shock. Haft for more damage. And then Inspiration because we don't want it to be eating up all of our mana or all of our life. Infernal Cry, you want this on a lower level, and the reason why you want this on a lower level is because you don't want to have to meet that super high strength requirement. Leveling it up only increases the Warcry speed. It doesn't give you any extra damage, so you don't need to level this up anywhere past like level 5 or 6 or whatever like that. So Premeditation, extra damage. Whenever this skill empowers our next melee attack, which will be Elemental Sundering, we will get 15% more damage on it. Raging Cry, because whenever we use this in radius of a unique boss, this will give us 20 rage, and the reason why we want this rage is Enraged Warcry, which will consume 10 of that to give us 30% more damage. And we're rocking Second Wind to give us 2 uses. This is so that we can Warcry, have that rage consumed, and then Warcry again to have more rage for extra damage. Cast on Freeze, you could, if you had enough spirit, use Cast on Crit. That is also possible, but I'm using Cast on Freeze. Make sure you're qualitying it as well. We're going to use Voltaic Mark because this is going to create large lightning explosions whenever a shock target dies. You can also use Freezing Mark, but I find Voltaic Mark to be more effective in my opinion. Reach for more area of effect. Magnified Effect for more area of effect. Energy Retention to help regain some of that energy that's expended on use, and then Impetus to help build up more energy to proc this more often. Now, since I have a Scepter with enough spirit, I am going to rock Elemental Conflux. This will give us a rotating increase to our damage. We pretty much have like all types of damage. This is a good buff to have overall whenever you're mapping. I have Fire Mastery and Cold Mastery to increase the level of the skill, and then Fast Forward to cause this rotation to occur more often. I want it to cycle between these faster. Wind Dancer is one of our defensive support gems, and I'm rocking Pin, Blind, and Maim, and this is because we want to get, 1, some extra evasion rating, and 2, whenever our Gale Force goes off from getting hit, this will lock down targets that hit us and let us get away. Our Quadrilla Companion, this is what we need to get the kind of the one-shot going on. This is because our Quadrilla, he's able to shock himself because he has all damage shocks right here. And we have Overcharge, so whenever he hits, the boss or something like that and shocks them, it will inflict the shock on the Quadrilla, and your Elemental Sunder is able to proc the explosions off of enemies and your companions, so it will not only blow up the elements on the boss, but also on the Quadrilla. So this is nice, it turns them into a mini nuke. I would recommend that you run Overcharge. Of course, you must have this with all damage shocks. We're going to rock Lasting Shock to let that shock last for longer. Last Gasp because we want him to die 4 seconds after he's supposed to, and then I'm running Elemental Army to get him some more elemental resistances, but you could run Meat Shield if you want to, because I would like for him to have some level of resistances to help him maybe not get one shot as often. And then Combat Frenzy, we're using Combat Frenzy to generate our Frenzy charges to amp our Glacial Lance or your Lightning Spear if you're using that. It's going to give you a charge whenever you freeze, electrocute, or pin. So freeze with Glacial Lance and electrocute with our Lightning Spear if you're wanting to use that. That's why we have to have electrocute in there. And then Profusion to give us a chance to grant an additional charge. So yeah, that is all of these skill gems and support gems. Now I'm going to go ahead and show off what weapon set everything is supposed to be on. Alright, so now for the weapon sets. Now, all the heralds and everything up here can just stay as is, normal. Glacial Lance, go ahead and throw this on weapon set 1. Elemental Sundering, make sure it is on weapon set 2. Storm Lance, also on weapon set 2. Infernal Cry, it doesn't really matter. Cast on Freeze, I have mine set to weapon set 1 only. Conflux, weapon set 1 only. Wind Dancer, weapon set 1 only. And the Quadrilla will be on either, but I could honestly just say put it on weapon set 2. And Combat Frenzy on weapon set 1. And yeah, that is it for the weapon sets. So now let's go ahead and get into the gear. Okay, so I'm going to break down the gear, and I'm going to start with the weapons and the weapon sets, and then I'll break down the uniques and everything like that. We do have a lot of options for things to be used here, so watching this is going to be helpful for you to understand what we're using and when we're using it. So we're going to be rocking Tangle Tongue for both of our weapons on weapon set 1 and 2. Now, when GGG add weapon set locking like they were supposed to, you won't need a second Tangle Tongue, but as it stands right now, you do need 2, unfortunately, to do this. So I'm going to rock a Tangle Tongue with as high critical hit chance as I could get. The higher the better. This helps you cap out your crit at 100% much easier. I have gone double socket for 2 Takabas. On my offhand, I'm rocking a Omen Scepter, and the reason why I'm using the Omen Scepter is because it has Malice on it, which will inflict critical weakness. Try to get one that has really good spirits, and either to mana, to int, to dex, to life, anything like that. That'll be nice there. If you have Sacred Flame, you can rock it. You can see that I have 44k here. If I throw it on here, we're up to 58k, or it bumps up because of my Conflux. So Sacred Flame, even though it's expensive and has less spirit, it is going to provide more damage when mapping. This is if you want it. For the next weapon set, we have another Tangle Tongue, and we have this Sunsplitter Array Buckler. And what is important here is on the Buckler, you want to get a Corrupt one with an additional level of skill. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because Elemental Sundering, it gets all boost from this right here. It gets the +4, the 2, and the 1, because it does have the tag Lightning, Cold, and Fire. So since this is plus to Cold, Fire, and Lightning, it gets all those boosts. If I was to take this off, you see that my Sunder drops to 29. So making sure that you have this is going to increase your damage on Sunder a ton. Like I said, we're rocking another Tangle Tongue, one with good critical hit chance on it, and then I have crit damage bonus on it, and it is Corrupt with extra lightning damage. Now for the uniques and what we're using there. So we have Deepest Tower, and we swap onto this whenever we're like on the Pinnacle boss, we're on the map boss, anything like that. And we want to do this for the map bosses and stuff like that. 1, because we want the most damage on them, but 2, whenever we're mapping, we want to have more defenses. So whenever we are bossing, this helmet goes on, and whenever we are mapping, this helmet goes on. And this is going to increase our energy shield much higher and everything like that to help us stay alive. On the ES helmet, I recommend that you get one with good ES, max life, critical hit chance, and then to your resistances, and if you need it, you can get some attributes. For the gloves, you're going to want a pair of gloves with plus to level of melee skill, as Sunder is a melee skill. And if you can get a corrupt pair of gloves with an additional level of melee skill, that would also be really beneficial. Get you some added damages if you can get it, and then get you your attributes and your resistances that you need. On your boots, go for movement speed. I've gone for ES base for all my gear. You're going to want max life, your attributes, and your resistances. So just making sure you're covering those is going to be the best thing here. On the belt, I'm rocking Ingenuity because we want the boost that Ingenuity provides to our rings. I also have one Corrupt that has increased maximum energy shield. You could either go that, you could go to attributes, you could go to increase evasion rating, anything like that on here. Whatever you need, fill it out using the belt. For the rings, I'm rocking 2 Chaos Rings to help cap out my Chaos resistance. You can see that I'm right there on all my stuff. So on the ring, getting flat damages, attributes, and resistances is going to be the best thing that you can get. If you can get max life, this will increase your damage and your hit pool, so getting those things will be nice. Same thing for this ring. I have flat damages. I have 1% increase, but flat is going to be the best overall. Getting attributes, and then if I could on this ring, I would have preferred to have some sort of elemental resist. The amulets, we're going to use hopefully an attribute amulet, one like a jade or a lapis amulet, anything to get you some more attributes. And the most important stats on here are going to be a little bit of spirit, level of melee skill, and then increasing your defenses, whether that's either evasion, energy shield, or both. Mine happens to have crit damage bonus. You don't need to have it. It is nice if you can have it, but I would recommend that you make sure that you're capping your resistances and filling out your attribute requirements before you go for more damage. We're going to anoint with Storm Charge for the extra critical hit chance and the increased elemental damage. For the flask, I'm just rocking a big life recovery flask that is just kind of decent. And then same thing for the mana flask. If you're using Ambrosia, you're going to want one with 120 charges. For the charms, I'm rocking a stun charm with guard and a freeze charm with life. Either or is fine. I just recommend having both because it's going to prevent you from being stun locked and freeze locked. So yeah, that is it for all the gear. I'm going to go ahead and explain the passive tree now. All right, so here on the passive tree, and I'm going to go ahead and swap over to Path of Building as it's much easier to see the colors of the weapon sets over here on this application. So the whole gimmick is that we have on weapon set 1, our mapping weapon set, we have these red ones which focus around attack speed, mobility, and staying alive with ES, EV, things like that. And then the green set is your bossing. That's where the deepest tower effective nodes are going to come into play. So that is the whole point behind the weapon sets and why we use different ones. Now for the ascendancy, what we're going to use is Gore Spike over here on the Blood Mage. You want to get Gore Spike because we're going to get increased critical damage bonus per 40 life. You can see that makes up about 7% of our damage, so very nice boost here. Of course, we got Sanguimancy, which is going to give us a life cost equal to mana cost on our skills, but also grant us the skill Life Remnants. I'm going to grab this small node for critical hit chance. And we're going to grab the max life node and grasping wounds. This will increase our max hit pool. It will cause you to take that much life damage over 4 seconds from hits. This is going to allow you to have time to pop your flask to keep yourself alive. And then I'll get the last small life node right here for extra max life. Now, if we did have a ES body armor, this would right here, this Crimson Power node would have been really strong to get extra life, which would have boosted Gore Spike more. But that is the whole challenge behind running the body armor. So I'll try to route as similarly as I can, the route that I took as I was leveling up. So you're going to start down here and we're going to get these ES nodes for survivability. We're going to skip out this way so that we have some extra points. And we're going to grab on weapon set 1 the energy shield nodes for staying alive on our mapping set. Coming down this way, we'll spend normal point, normal point, normal point on the crit nodes. And then on weapon set 2, our bossing, we'll grab these 2 crit hit chance nodes. We'll come down this way, and I'm going to get this node, and this node on normal points, and this node right here on weapon set 2 points. We'll come down this way, and on weapon set 1, we'll grab the skill speed nodes because it's mapping, and then we'll do normal points here, 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 and here, and then do weapon set 2 right there for critical damage bonus. Then all these points right here for movement speed, attributes, and defenses on weapon set 1. We're going to come out this way, and we're going to have our first jewel, which is the From Nothing Diamond, which is passives and radius of Unwavering Stance can be allocated without being connected, and Unwavering Stance is all the way out here. And we're going to grab Finality and the small low life nodes. Finality is going to make up 14.5% of our damage, and these are going to be on weapon set 2, because that is our deepest tower / bossing setup. Now, coming back this way, we're going to come up here, and all of these nodes here are normal points. This small node right here is the only weapon set 2 green point, only this one. All of these other crit nodes are on your normal skill points. Make sure that you're grabbing this top node and not this bottom node, as this one is much more potent, unless you need the extra critical hit chance. We're going to come down this way, and on weapon set 1, we're going to grab Subterfuge Mask for the extra evasion for the energy shield on our helmet, and the extra EV/ES nodes right there. Coming down this way on weapon set 2, we'll grab the crit damage bonus nodes for extra damage. Coming down this way on weapon set 1, we are going to go for Honed Instincts for the attack speed and the dex. And then coming down this way on weapon set 2, our deepest tower bossing setup, we're going to grab all the way down here to these nodes because we want all of these low life nodes that are going to give us some extra damage. You can see things like Stars Align giving us a 34.9% damage boost. We're looking at Finishing Blows that will give us a 7.2% damage boost. Sorry, this node right here was a 16.8% just for this node, but grabbing all of these low life nodes right here are huge for deepest tower. Coming out this way, we're going to spec out and grab Cooked because Cooked is going to give us more critical damage bonus. If you need more crit hit chance, grab these nodes right here instead of grabbing the critical damage bonus nodes, but my Tangled Tongue is good enough that I do not need the extra critical hit chance nodes. And then we have this diamond right here, Prism of Belief. This is +3 to Sundering. I think I paid 4 or 5 div for this. You can buy a +2 for like 1 div and then a +1 for much cheaper. This is 20% damage increase right here. Huge for keeping Sundering, having that one-shot potential. Coming out this way, if you're leveled 91, that's what I'm at right here on this, you can grab the Catalysis, which is going to give you an increase on your physical max hit, which is the weakest part of the build. Now, we are on the deepest tower setup, so our physical hit is going to look lower. I think we're closer to like 4,500 physical max hit with the regular mapping helmet on. So getting this right here is huge for keeping you alive and giving you some extra damage. We'll come out this way, and on weapon set 1, we'll grab these attack, movement speed, and damage nodes. We'll come down this way, and we got on weapon set 1 some move speed, skill speed. Come down this way, we're gonna grab all of these nodes right here on normal points. These two right here will be weapon set 1, since these are attack speed nodes, and then we get this one does have damage, but this is necessary for what we need. And then on just normal points, we'll grab these nodes right here. We'll come down here and get this jewel slot for a Megalo if you can afford it. The only thing that I recommend on the Megalo is Careful Assassin. Careful Assassin will increase your critical hit chance, which will help us cap out our critical hit chance at 100%. If you can't get a Megalo like this, you'll have to spend more points into critical hit chance, so try to get this if you can. Then coming up this way, we are going to grab Common Calamity because we are affected by all 3 Heralds, so we are going to get all big boost from this. This one node right here is 6%. All 3 nodes is 8.9%. So big nodes for damage right there. And then we'll come up this way, grab all of these crit nodes, and then just put this one singular critical hit chance node on weapon set to our bossing set. And then right here for the last jewel, I do recommend that you get a rare jewel with % mana on kill. It doesn't have to be a time lost. I just got a time lost because that's what I had in my stash. So if you can get critical damage bonus, cold damage, elemental damage, lightning damage, critical hit chance, anything like that, attack damage, attack speed, anything like that will be good on a rare jewel. But yeah, that is it for the passive tree. So now I'll get into a mapping, bossing, and pinnacle bossing demo. All right, so here we are on the mapping demo, and here is our node that we're gonna run, and here's my tier 15 waystone. So yeah, let's hop in there and show you what we're gonna do. All right, so here we are. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna start the chain of getting your frenzy charges by freezing stuff. Once you freeze stuff, your Glacial Lance is going to do this area explosion that just wipes out everything that is, you know, in its path, like on its sides and stuff like that. So I can chuck my Glacial Lance and it'll do these giant ice explosions that is just going to wipe everything out, even rares and everything like that. Like, they're just going to die. There's just kind of explodes and covers large areas and will clear with little to no issues at all. So isn't really too much to it besides that. You just walk around and chuck your spears and it'll kill everything. So it's kind of very similar to Lightning Spear, as it's just like one button clicking. But as long as you can generate frenzy charges by freezing, you'll be able to clear with the skill with no issues at all. And yeah, that is really all that there is to the mapping. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill everything and get to the boss, and I'll show you guys a bossing demo. All right, so here we're at the boss, and it's really simple. All you're really going to do is you're going to swap on the deepest tower, and you are going to swap to weapon set 2. So now that we've done that, what we're going to be looking to do is we want to throw our Stormlance on the boss and wait for our Quadrilla to hit the boss, and then we will just double Warcry and then pop a Sunder. So I'll show that off now. So we're gonna check our Stormlance, be shocked, we're gonna Warcry, and then we're gonna drop our Sunder. And she just dies like that. Not really too much to it, pretty simple. So yeah, now I'll go ahead and show off a Pinnacle boss demo. All right, so here we are at Zesht, and what you're going to do, same thing as the map boss, you're going to swap on the deepest tower and change to weapon set 2, and let's go. We're gonna do the same thing. We're going to be looking to throw our Stormlance on the ground, wait for it to shock him, let the Quadrilla shock him, and then we'll Warcry and Sunder. Make sure the Quadrilla is standing close to him as well. So we're gonna Stormlance, Warcry, Warcry, and boom. And he dies, just like that. So super easy, just make sure that the gorilla stands closer to him so that way the explosion from the gorilla actually manages to hit him. But that's really it for the loop, and pretty simple. So yeah, now that's all I have to show for that. So yeah, that's going to be it for the first community build showcase. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comment sections. If you really want to see me go test these things live, you can always swing by my Twitch. And yeah, make sure you check out the written guide in the description. If you made it this far, I appreciate you guys watching. Y'all take care, and I'll see you on the next one.